We're just over halfway through the World Cup group stages, and in today's video, I'm going to be telling you guys the top 3 biggest frauds so far in the 2026 World Cup. This World Cup so far has been the World Cup of upsets. We've seen a lot of upsets, we've seen a lot of crazy results, and in today's video, I'm going to be telling you guys 3 different countries that are either already knocked out of the World Cup or are on the verge of getting knocked out, who realistically should have probably made it much further. As always, if you guys agree with my top 3, remember to leave a comment down below, and remember to subscribe to the channel as we're almost at 9,000 subscribers, and I can't do it without you guys. But without further ado, let's get right into this video. Starting off with the first country, and for me, this is probably the biggest fraud of them all. It's none other than Turkey, guys. Oh my gosh, we made a video a few days ago talking about Turkey's elimination from the World Cup, and guys, it's crazy. It's absolutely insane. A team like Turkey, a very historic team, a country that produces so many great football talents, a country that has a top league in the world, definitely a top 7 leagues in the Turkish Super League. Teams like Galatasaray, teams like Beşiktaş, teams like Fenerbahçe, teams like Trabzonspor. So many historic teams coming out of Turkey and so many historic players. But Turkey in the 2026 World Cup were absolutely shit, bro. Oh my gosh, 2 games already, not even versing the toughest team in your group in USA, and you're already eliminated. Turkey were officially the first or second team eliminated from the World Cup. In the first game, they lost 2-0 against Australia. What a horrific game. They had they had 30 total shots, 72% possession, but look at the shot chart. Oh my gosh, look at this shot chart, bro. And they got hit on pretty much 2 counterattacks from Iran Kunda in the first 27 minutes, and then by Metcalf later on in the game. Great goals by Australia, but Turkey, bro. Oh my gosh, absolutely horrible, bro. Defensively, this team has been absolutely horrible on the counterattacks. Transitionally, they have not been good enough. But we have to also look at their attack, because their attack, whether it's Aktürkoğlu, whether it's Yilmaz, whether it's Arda Güler, whether it's Kenan Yıldız, whether it's even Çalhanoğlu from the midfield, they're not good enough. They're not creative enough in the box. If we look at this shot chart, guys, look at how many shots were from outside the box. Majority of the shots, and it wasn't only in the Australia game, it was the same thing in the Paraguay game, guys. They had almost 80% possession, 32 total shots. But look at the shot chart once again. A lot of shots from outside the box. Look, sorry, that's second half. Look at that. Almost all the shots were from outside the box. There's arguably more shots from outside the box than inside the box. And that shows you that they are lacking ideas. They're lacking creativity in the box. And I think that does come down to their manager, Montella, but it also comes down to the attackers. They don't really play that well together. I think they don't mesh well together. They don't have the best chemistry. I also think they would be much better off if they had a more traditional number 9, a bigger, taller, stronger striker. You look at a player like Aktürkoğlu, you know, he can play in the striker, but a lot of the times he plays as a winger, as an attacking midfielder. In the striker position, I think if you want to play Aktürkoğlu, you need a bigger, more traditional number 9 next to him. I don't think he's good enough as a lone striker, and that's why I think they're lacking in the attack. Now, defensively, they were better in this game. Obviously, Paraguay scored in the 2nd minute, which is crazy. But to be down a man for the whole second half, and Turkey still can't score. They have 32 total shots. They still can't score. Guys, for me, Turkey is the first fraud of the 2026 World Cup. Moving on to the next team, and this might be an unexpected team. Another team that starts with T, Tunisia, or as Speed would say, Sunzia. Bro, Sunzia were absolutely disgusting in this World Cup. They were so trash. I don't know what's going on with them, but complete chaos. The first game, they lost 5-1 against Sweden. They fired their manager. They hired a new manager, and they lose 4-0. They hired Renard, who has experience playing with other countries, and they lose 4-0. What do you think would have happened, bro? Guys, whoever is the president of the Tunisian FA or whoever it is, bro, what did you think is gonna happen when you fire a manager mid-World Cup after losing 5-1, after losing by 4 goals? Think it's gonna change anything? You think hiring a new manager who doesn't know any of these players, who's never worked with these players, is gonna change anything? No. And that's why they lost by another 4 goals the game after. Guys, Tunisia is definitely the 2nd biggest fraud. Now, Tunisia, I had decently high hopes for them to make it out of the group. I did, because you look at them in recent competitions, right? Very good defensively. You know, a lot of draws, 1-1 Tanzania, 1-1 Mali. They got that 0-0 draw against Canada in a friendly before the tournament. They got that 1-0 win against Haiti. And even if we go back to the AFCON, for example, or the qualification, say the World Cup qualification, they were very good in the qualification. Very, very good. Defensively, they were incredibly solid. They finished 1st place in the group. They didn't concede a single goal. in the World Cup qualifiers. Not a single goal. Out of 10 games, 9 wins and a draw. 22 goals, 0 goals conceded, guys. That shows you that Tunisia are a top team defensively. A very good team, guys. A lot of these Tunisian defenders are very, very solid. They're all, a lot of them around the 20s to 30s. They're a decent age, and they're all decent defenders. You have some playing in France, some playing in Switzerland, some playing in Turkey, some playing obviously in Tunisian league, but they're very good players. But guys, how can this defense, who didn't concede a single goal in the qualifiers, concede 9 goals in 2 games and 5 goals in the friendly before the tournament started? Guys, in their last 3 games in all competitions, Tunisia have conceded 14 goals and they've scored 1. The team that kept a clean sheet in almost every single game in the AFCON. No, every game. Bro, this is crazy. This is absolutely crazy, guys. But I do think they made a big mistake firing their manager and hiring Renard. Is Renard a better manager? I don't know. I don't think it makes a difference, because at this point, at least stick with your manager who has worked with the players for a considerable amount of time. Not hire a new manager who's never worked with any of these players. It makes absolutely no sense. So I think Tunisia shot himself in the foot. After they fired their manager, I predicted Japan to beat them 4-1 or 4-0, and did 4-0. So for me, guys, Tunisia are definitely the second biggest frauds of the 2026 World Cup. And guys, moving on to the third biggest frauds of the World Cup, I've gone with Ecuador. And this may sound bad because, guys, in my official World Cup predictions, I predicted Ecuador to make it to the semifinals. I have no idea why I did that. I have no idea why I predicted that, because this team cannot score a goal for their life. If their life depended on it, bro, if my life depended on it, I would take Qatar to score a goal over Ecuador. That's how shit Ecuador are. Bro, how they didn't, first of all, they're hanging on the edge of their group. They're almost eliminated. They're currently sitting in, where are they sitting? They're sitting in 3rd place, tied with Curaçao, and they have to face Germany in the last match day. They already lost to Ivory Coast. They're sitting on the edge of a thread, about to be eliminated from the World Cup. Now, guys, their first match against Ivory Coast, I will say, Ecuador, they were decent. They had a lot of chances, right? This was a very 50-50 match. Ecuador, they hit the crossbar a few different times on a few separate occasions, and they probably could have got a result from this game. As you can see, Minda hit the crossbar. We also saw Yeboah hit the crossbar from outside the box. So they had a few chances. They had over 1 expected goal, 12 shots. They could have scored, but at the end of the day, they suffered that last-minute goal from Amad Diallo. A very good goal, and Ivory Coast got the win. But guys, yesterday, against Curaçao, the same team. Hey, I'm not disrespecting Curaçao, okay? I would love it if Curaçao can actually get a result in the next game, bro. It would be insane. But bro, Curaçao are a team who conceded 2 goals against China, 5 goals against Australia, 4 goals against Scotland, 7 goals against Germany, and Ecuador. You can't even score 1 goal? Not even 1? We knew you were going to keep a clean sheet, but I predicted at least 2 goals. I think I predicted a 2-0 win to Ecuador. At least 2. At least 1. 0 goals. Now, guys, we do have to give credit to the Curaçao goalkeeper, Room. Room, I think this is the second most saves in a World Cup game in history. 15 saves. Holy shit. Were they all incredible saves? No, but there was a few saves that were incredible. And Valencia on the breakaway. Room saves it. Bro, honestly, he made a few very good saves. Plata with a great shot. Room saves it. Honestly, Room was incredible in this game. And Curaçao's defense was very good. But Ecuador, bro, you have almost 3 expected goals. You have almost 30 shots, 15 of which is on target, which is a very, very high on target ratio, pretty much, right? That's over 50% of your shots on target. That's almost 60% of your shots on target. But you do have almost 60% of shots on target, 15 of them, and you can't even score a goal. Guys, this has been the problem with Ecuador. We knew it was going to be a problem, but I didn't think it was going to be this big of a problem, bro. Enter Valencia, Plata, who I've always said is probably the more creative player, Yeboah, Estupinian, Caicedo, Vite, whoever it is, bro, absolutely trash. And guys, there was actually times in this game where Curaçao could have scored if Galindez didn't pull off a few very good saves. Bro, I don't know what's going on with Ecuador, guys. They are absolute frauds. Like, I knew coming into this tournament, guys, other than that loss against Ivory Coast, they were on a 15-game unbeaten streak? I think 18 games. Other than that loss against Brazil. Guys, they won so many games in a row in the CONMEBOL qualification and friendlies. But the problem with Ecuador it was already there. It was already there, right, guys? Look at these draws. Look, they got 0-0 draw in qualification, 0-0 draw, 0-0 draw, 0-0 draw, another 0-0 draw. That's 4 0-0s in a row. 1-1 draws against the 3 host nations, 1-1 against Morocco, 1-1 against Netherlands, you know, but 0-0 against Curaçao, guys. We know that Ecuador struggled to score goals. We know defensively they're one of the best teams in the world, but 0-0 against Curaçao, that's disappointing, bro. That's disappointing. I'm very disappointed in Bekasese, and I'm disappointed in this squad. I'm disappointed in all these attackers. It doesn't matter if it's an older attacker in Ener Valencia. It doesn't matter if it's one of the younger players in, you know, let's say Yaboa or even Plata. But bro, whoever it is, no goals against Curaçao is honestly disgraceful for Ecuador. So with that being said, guys, I do think Ecuador, it's very, very unlikely for them to make it out of their group. I don't think they will be able to beat Germany. And I do think because of that reason, Ecuador will be another team that will shockingly exit in the group stage. I had a horrible prediction on them, but for that reason, Ecuador are my 3rd biggest frauds of the 2026 World Cup. But let me know what you think. Let me know what your top 3 biggest frauds are in the World Cup so far. For me, like I said, Tunisia, Turkey, and Ecuador have been absolutely disgraceful, all 3 of them, and they do not deserve to move on, and they most likely won't. Obviously, Turkey's already 100% confirmed finished. But that is the end of the video, guys. If you guys enjoyed that video, remember to leave a like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Remember to tune into the streams because we've been going crazy with all the World Cup streams, and obviously, I'll see you guys in the next one.